Recollection Road is proud to partner with Legacy Box. Watch until the end of this video to find out more about digitizing your family's irreplaceable memories, and then visit legacybox.com/recollection for an incredible 55% off. The 1970s were a decade filled with moments that touched our hearts and sometimes brought tears to our eyes. There were many things that the 1970s gave us that may have made us emotional, so let's take a look back and see if we can dig up some moving memories. The 1970s marked the end of an era in music history when the Beatles officially disbanded in 1970. As one of the most influential bands of all time, their breakup left fans heartbroken and in tears. The Fab Four's remarkable journey had run its course, and the end was inevitable. But the music world still mourned the loss of the group playing together, and any future music they may have made. The 1970s saw the release of many movies that have become classics, like The Godfather, Jaws, and Star Wars. But a movie based on a true story had us all holding back tears. Brian's Song was a powerful sports drama based on the friendship between NFL players Brian Piccolo and Gale Sayers. The emotional journey of their bond and Piccolo's battle with cancer left audiences in tears and emphasized the true meaning of life and loss. The early 1970s were marred by the ongoing Vietnam War, a conflict that saw young men drafted and sent off to war with little hope of bringing the fighting to an end. Between the deployments, news of casualties, and seeing the condition our troops were returning in brought immense sadness and loss to families across the nation. The constant reminders through the nightly news and daily newspapers left families grieving and questioning the war's purpose. The Kent State Massacre that occurred on May 4, 1970, was another devastating day in our history. As student protests against the Vietnam War turned deadly, 4 students ended up losing their lives at the hands of the Ohio National Guard. The news of the events left the nation grieving and also questioning the government's response to protesting the war. In 1972, the start of the Olympic Games in Munich, Germany was meant to be an exciting event. But everything changed when it became the site of a horrifying act of terrorism. Palestinian terrorists took Israeli athletes hostage, resulting in a tragic standoff that left 11 athletes and a German police officer dead. The world watched in shock and grief as this senseless act of violence unfolded on an international stage. On top of the stress of Vietnam, the 1973 oil crisis led to soaring gas prices that created an economic hardship for many families. As people struggled to fill up their car with fuel just so that they could make a living, the ripple effects impacted just about every part of daily life, leading to many tears of frustration and helplessness. The 70s were a time when families gathered around the television for entertainment at night. However, the joy of watching your favorite shows was often interrupted by a fuzzy reception and poor signal. Adjusting antennas and trying to get a clear picture sometimes also resulted in tears of frustration, especially during those important moments we didn't want to miss. In 1975, Steven Spielberg's Jaws took the world by storm and solidified itself as the first summer blockbuster. This thriller of a movie about a menacing great white shark terrorizing a beach town left a lasting impact. Many viewers found themselves scared to swim in open waters, turning what used to be a fun beach outing into moments of anxiety and sheer trepidation. As we think about some of our childhood memories, many of us recall the playgrounds of the 1970s, with their towering and blistering metal equipment. But this never deterred us from having fun. The joy of playing on swings, slides, and monkey bars was only occasionally interrupted by a bump, bruise, or burn, caused by the brutal playground equipment that existed at the time. The 1970s brought huge economic challenges to major cities across the country, resulting in complete urban decay and despair. Cities like Cleveland, Detroit, and New York City were crumbling and looked more like a war zone. This was also reflected in the struggles of the communities they represented. The sight of once vibrant cities being reduced to crime-riddled and graffiti-filled trash towns brought tears to the eyes of those who once called them home. Not only were cities falling apart, but the decade also saw families falling apart. The divorce rate hit a record high during this time, highlighting the strains on families and marriages due to many things that were happening during the 70s. The disillusion of long-held unions left many feeling heartbroken and uncertain about the future. The 1970s brought on plenty of economic problems, including rising inflation and unemployment rates that skyrocketed. Finances were certainly a factor in the struggle of the American family, and just making ends meet was a monthly battle. The constant uncertainty and the stress of making enough just to survive brought both tears of frustration and anxiety. The 1970s were plagued by the emergence of terrifying serial killers like Ted Bundy, the Son of Sam, and the Night Stalker, among many others. Their gruesome crimes and ability to evade capture struck fear into the hearts of many. The tearful plight of the victims' families and the communities affected by these killers' heinous acts left a lasting emotional impact on all of us. In March 1977, The Mary Tyler Moore Show bid farewell to its loyal viewers. As Mary Richards tossed her hat one last time, fans couldn't help but shed a tear for the end of an era in television history. The show had been a cultural touchstone of the 1970s that empowered women and brought laughter and joy into living rooms across the country. In August of 1977, the world mourned the sudden and tragic death of Elvis Presley, the king of rock and roll. As news spread of his passing, fans around the globe were devastated. Elvis had become an icon of a generation, and his death marked the end of an era, leaving behind a legacy that still makes many fans teary-eyed today. Let me know in the comments if I missed anything, and maybe even consider supporting the channel over on Patreon. Recollection Road and Legacy Box both believe it's important to preserve the past. If you're like me, there's a box of your family's treasured home movies and photos tucked away somewhere, and Legacy Box can help you preserve them digitally. The process is a simple and safe solution for converting your home movies and photos to thumb drive or to the cloud. Just send in your Legacy Box filled with old VHS and camcorder tapes, film reels, and pictures, and get back digital copies that can be easily enjoyed, shared, and kept organized. It's that easy. Legacy Box is trusted by over 1 million people, and it's all done right here in the USA. Get started preserving your past today. Go to legacybox.com/recollection to get an incredible 55% off. Buy today to take advantage of this exclusive offer and send in your memories when you're ready. Go to legacybox.com/recollection to save 55% while supplies last. If you enjoyed this video, consider watching this playlist, and then visit the channel to search the Recollection Road library. As always, thank you so much for watching.